January 25th, 2017, I got this book, The Idea Factory, Bell Labs and the Great Age of American Innovation by John Gertner. I'm on page 61, War. On the home front, the war overturned the established norms of science, engineering, and business. Mervyn Kelly had long regarded scientific research as a pursuit of the unknown that inherently defied corporate and political regimes. Science had no true owners, only participants and contributors. By the early 1940s, the great discoveries of his lifetime, including the work of his friends Robert Millikan at Chicago and Davy Davidson at Bell Labs, were such that they transcended borders and nationalities. The results of their work were widely shared, discussed, and augmented, as Kelly thought they should be, through international gatherings and cooperative investigative efforts. Engineering, however, was different. Kelly defined it as the application of science to a problem affecting society. Engineers dipped into the common reservoir of science on behalf of their own industries and countries. In peacetime, that meant they focused on making profitable commodities like automobiles and telephone equipment. In wartime, that meant they focused on building military communications equipment as well as ships, planes, and munitions. At the same time, wartime engineers had an additional responsibility. They were charged not only with building everything better, but building everything faster, which meant striving to improve their processes as well as their products. In the summer of 1943, Kelly wrote an article for the engineering publication called The Bridge that directed attention to the contributions of the American engineers working on the Allied war effort. In particular, he remarked on the speed with which U.S. industry had caught up with military economies of the Axis powers. Progress had been made in some fields of technology in a 4-year interval, he pointed out, that under the normal conditions of peace would have required from 10 to 20 years. Much of what Bell Labs was now building hadn't existed 4 years before. In this astonishing short period of time, he added, we have developed, designed, placed, and manufactured and expanded to unprecedented high rates the production of substantial portions of the tools of warfare that our Army and Navy now are so successfully employing. If the peacetime needs of the rapidly expanding phone system were unceasing force for new inventions, in other words, war is turning out to be an even greater force. One obvious reason was that war created an air of urgency. It's very important. I wanted to point that out to you guys. Baby boomer mentality, pre-baby boomer mentality. The word baby boomer itself, boomer, like a bomb going off. That wartime idea. It's still in my house even. Or my dad's house, I should say. When he says put something in the microwave, he doesn't say microwave this or microwave that or heat it up. He says nuke it. Nuke the food. Yeah, there it is. The baby boomer idea of war. Everything's, you have to nuke your food, like baby boomer. Now we have a different way of looking at the world. We have millennials. I would consider myself a millennial. I was born in 1984. Somehow Trump has to harness a sense of urgency to make technological advance happen like it did in wartime, but without war. Because China is eating us alive with that computer technology they have, the large supercomputers. They're doing something right. We can't take the approach, oh, well, communism is bad. Look how much it doesn't work anymore. We can't do that. Because something is going on that works over there. And we need to be more competitive in that regard. And quit dragging our feet around. And I think if there's some way that Trump can imbue a sense of urgency among millennials and people a little bit older than myself to completely replace the wartime mentality of the baby boomers as they retire, I think that'll be a very big winning situation for the United States and for the world abroad. I know a lot of people are watching this don't live in the United States, but you guys are going to benefit too. I guarantee it. War is a majorly competitive business. Instead of instead of looking at, well, we need to be urgent in the fact that, okay, we're going to get blown up, they're going to actually take our lands or kill us, we need to have the kind of competitive spirit where we can jointly be, you know, together on the planet without like killing each other, but still be competitive in that regard. And I'm not too sure how to make us competitive without giving us the kind of fear that comes with war. I think as a society, as a civilization, we need to evolve past that mentality, but still be just as competitive. We still need to have that kind of spirit in there somewhere. I remember when I was at Florida State University, when I first got there from my time in the Marines, my roommate Pat, we used to be competitive with our grades. We used to compare our test scores on our calculus exams, because that was one of the classes that we had at the same time. Not the same class, but the same time. And we used to say, well, you got a 95, I got a 96. You know, it's just, you just have to like be competitive in that regard. That way it pushes you to be the best that you can be. And I don't know, like, we're also moving away from the politicizing and the corporatocracy of like of science in general, because what happened is, it says here, problematic to compete with theory and science because war changed the attitude of the sciences. And now that those war type attitudes are retiring, the baby boomers are leaving, we have to readopt the idea that science can go into the unknown without having to have these overwhelming, crushing corporate entities and political regimes where everybody has a little rank and file. We don't need that anymore. That worked when we were going to war with each other on vast scales and fucking millions of people were being murdered by each other. We don't need that step-by-step, highly politicized, highly rank and file method for doing science anymore. We can go into the unknown. We can discover what we want to discover without having to get approval from people, to get the approval from the higher ups. You know, it isn't required anymore. We can go out into the unknown and do whatever we want now without fear of, like, you know, nuclear war. That kind of crap is long gone. Well, I mean, we still have nuclear weapons to worry about, but the whole mentality of, oh my God, we gotta, you know, jump underneath the tables, we gotta duck and cover, we gotta be afraid of the communist Soviets and all this, all that's gone, man. And you still see remnants of it in our politics these days. Oh, the Russians, oh my God, they're being so evil. I'm like, it's so silly. But that, and I say, like, if anybody has any ideas of what to be competitive about, bring them up. Throw a challenge out there. I remember reading in another book, if you want to really get somebody to do something, give them a challenge. Throw down a challenge. And they'll be more willing to, like, get it done. But when you're number one at things, you kind of get lazy, you get complacent. There's nobody to race against. There's nobody to have a battle with. Battle in the terms of, like, competitive nature, like a basketball game or a football game. Nobody's actually dying, but it's, you know, it's a battle on the field and you have to obey by the rules. If there's a way to be competitive inside of the computer industry, hell yeah. Biotechnology, incredibly competitive. Though I do see the United States having problems with biotechnology because of, you know, our culture is really religious by default. In China, there are a bunch of atheists over there, so when they experiment on human beings and stuff, or embryos, they just don't give a shit. But over here, it's like, oh my God, we have all these rules and regulations because, you know, the sanctity of life and, you know, that kind of stuff. But I don't know how we're going to work around that. But it's going to be there. China is going to freaking grow human beings out of test tubes in the future. Just watch. Alright, y'all. Just thought, like, I threw it out there. And read books like this. I'm on page 61 already. There's a whole hell of a lot more to go over. Alright, take it easy.